To be here for the official unveiling of the Sweetwater Nature Reserve. And there's an amazing group of John's friends are here and family. We have his sister here, Kathy from Oregon.
Here I am.
There she is. Hi, Kathy. And his brother Mark and his wife Susan are here from New Jersey.
Oh my goodness.
And Kathleen's brother Glenn and his wife Jillian Milligan are here. And I actually didn't get where they've traveled from. But
Trenton.
From Trenton, great. So, and I know there's many more friends of John's here, and a number of people have asked to speak, and so I think that's fantastic. So I'm going to dramatically shorten what I was planning on saying, just to give everybody a chance to say something. I think that today is the best day that you can possibly have at work for a land trust. This represents the apex of everything that we do when we're doing the official unveiling of a nature reserve to protect a beautiful piece of land forever. I also have been I've been thinking today about what this day might have meant for John Pitts, and I can't really speculate, and for Kathleen, but Mark Bissett is here. He was the executive director up until December 31st, and he shepherded along this agreement, and so he would like to say a few words about his time with John.
Well, they're making me. I semi-retired. No,
Go ahead, Mark.
yeah, I just, it must be 10 years ago or more now that Ron Reed and I had a meeting with John, and John asked us to come out to his place. And for those of you who know him, he lived in the house over here, beautiful old stone house. And we sat in his living room and with his wood stove going, and it was one of those great moments that made this job so cool, is to get to meet people like John. And as time went on and John passed away, I had these great regrets that I didn't get to know him even better, because he was such a neat guy. He was, he just, I like to think that he's still here, and would be just really, really happy with the way things have turned out. And I'm very grateful to his family members, Kathy and Mark and Graham. It's just, I think this is a really, really great thing that you guys have done, and so I wanted to thank you for that as well. So.
Mark, can I just say a quick word? You mentioned John, but Kathleen was definitely a part of that decision, even though maybe not when you were there. So I think that should be
Good point. I never had the pleasure of meeting
I
Kathleen.
just thought I'd add that.
I understand, that she is very much in the same spirit.
Maybe somebody will.
Yeah. Kathleen's brother is here, so he will say a few words today, I think.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, great. Here he is right now. Sure, come on.
I got to read it, Mark.
Can I ask a question? I don't know either family, so were Kathleen and John married, or
Yes.
what's the connection?
Yes.
And Kathleen died before John, a number of years before John, and John continued to live here.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Glenn Milligan, and I'm John's brother-in-law. And of course, we all know now he was married to Kathleen. John and Kathleen were stewards of the land, and this was demonstrated in how they conducted their lives from day to day. And many of you grew up with them more than I did. They moved from Trenton, or John moved from the south to here, and Kathleen moved from Trenton to here. So they had a great life together. After John died, I became the executor of the estate and had the opportunity to meet with Mark. And he highlighted the environmental significance of the property. That set the wheels in motion for the acquisition of these 185 acres that the Conservation Authority, the Conservancy now has. It also is important to acknowledge that Ramara Township made an exception to allow the house and 15 acres to be severed from the original parcel of land. That aided in the acquisition. The Pitts and Milligan families are extremely grateful for all of the effort and support put forth by the Conservancy and its supporters in seeing the acquisition come to fruition. John and Kathleen will be more than pleased to know that the Sweetwater farm is in excellent hands and will be protected in perpetuity. So thank you very much.
Yeah, as Glenn mentioned, the Sweetwater farm is 185 acres. It's a mixture of forest, wetland, and has a significant groundwater recharge flowing through it. And it's a very important piece of a plan that we have, the protection of this area. I'm just going to get this map to show you how it fits in. So, we've never shied away from ambitious plans, and this is the Sweetwater farm right here, now protected. And you'll see that it's part of an area that we're working on protected called the Black River Wildlands. And in it already we have the Whitney Wetland, Sweetwater Farm, Nicholson, and then where is one at the top? And then we've got Water Thrush Woods should be on here, but I don't see it at the moment. And we're working on creating a connected corridor that will someday join up with Queen Elizabeth Wildlands Provincial Park. And it might seem like a pipe dream, but in fact, we've already had enormous success in building this corridor in Carden all the way up to meet QE2 Provincial Park. So the Sweetwater Farm is part of a very significant piece of our conservation strategy for this area. I've had some amazing wildlife encounters on this property. I've run into a bear. We startled each other. One winter I was in here with a couple of my coworkers, and there were these wing marks in the snow with blood, and it was from an owl that had, dove into the snow after maybe a vole or something. There's all kinds of grassland birds. Many of them are very rare. There's field sparrows, there's whippoorwills call on the far end of the property, there's nighthawks, eastern towhees, coyotes, lots of coyotes roam through this area. Moose and deer use the property in the winter for some winter food. And there's also, as I mentioned, this significant groundwater recharge. We call it Stickleback Stream, and it flows right through the property from wetland up on the next property. And that is recharging the head river. So it all flows down to the bottom into a wetland, and we're going to do everything that we can to keep that stream flowing. So is Dylan here?
Yeah,
Oh, great. I wonder if you'd like to come up and say
absolutely.
something.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Dylan. I didn't write anything down because I probably just would have stumbled and stuttered over my words if I was reading it off a piece of paper. So I chose not to. So bear with me. I was John's neighbor. I was right across the road from him, and I met him young into my childhood, a few years after we moved into the house across from his. And the first time I ever met him, I was absolutely astonished with how welcoming and warm he felt, like just his presence to be around. And especially at that young age to have somebody like that. We got involved in cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, mountain biking, canoeing, kayaking, you name it, we were out every weekend doing something like that. I met Don, he's here, and his friend Doug. They had a gentleman's club that they had invited me to the one evening. And it's refreshing to see his family also here. I did not expect that at all, but it absolutely means a lot to have this property kind of reserved for the wildland and for the animals on it. We know there's a great quarry population around this area, so it's hard to think what would happen if that was not put aside to the Couchiching Conservancy. So I'm absolutely thankful for that. I know John would be very thankful for that. Yeah, thank you guys for all coming and making use of the property. It's quite significant. I don't think I would have saw this coming when he first had passed away. So thank you guys again.
Thanks. And David Monroe? Great.
So I met John in 1976, and I lived with him here. I knew Kathleen, but I knew John before Kathleen, and we spent a winter in that farmhouse exploring the land together. And John is, I can tell, his dream, Sweetwater Farm was the name John had for this land. He loved this land so much. You have no idea how much he loved this land. And we spent one winter just sitting around that wood stove that somebody mentioned. Mark. And John was quiet. He was a quiet guy. And we'd spend the whole night together and not talk. I just want to convey to you, most of you don't know John, but he was a very unique man. And his dream was, he loved this land so much, and for this to happen it's very moving. I'm kind of a little emotional about it because it's like a dream come true. And Kathleen came in, and it was a perfect match. John always wanted community, and he always wanted people to come together, and people did come together around John. But Kathleen was like an anchor for him. So when they were together, it flourished. Everything kind of flourished in a beautiful way, you know. And then, of course, unfortunately, Kathleen died, and then, fortunately, John was able to make this happen with you, you know. The land is, it's very unique. Like I said, there's all kinds of wildlife. We saw a cougar one day, and back then it was very quiet. There was no limestone quarries. It was just very quiet, and it still is. So I don't really have anything else to say other than just it's really great that you are doing what you're doing. And kudos to you.
Is Mary Reed here? Oh, terrific.
Hi, my name is Mary, and I'm not related to John or Kathleen. I'm from Romero Township, and Tanya reached out to me and asked if I would come here today and share a little bit about my journey at the Sweetwater Reserve. And I said, of course, because I fell in love with the Sweetwater Reserve, and I would do anything for my love. And I didn't really think, though, about how I would sit down and write and how I could convey how I felt about this property. But three themes kept emerging when I sat down to write, and the first was about connections, because it's our connections to the land and to the people around us that teach us how to love, and it's our connections that teach us to want to do better, which is part of what the Couchiching Conservancy is doing. The second was about healing, and that's where my journey intersects with the Sweetwater Reserve. About 4 years ago, I was extremely ill, and I was bedridden and housebound, and I had days where I could barely walk. If I got up from my bed to make it to the bathroom by myself, that was a good day. Thankfully, I met a doctor who diagnosed me, and there began my journey of healing. So a friend introduced me about this time, shortly after, to the Sweetwater Reserve. And I started coming here a couple times a week. At first I walked really slowly, kind of creeped through the bush. But after a while, my muscles started to heal, and I would do the 2-kilometer loop trail at lightning speed. But not only did I learn to walk faster here, I also learned to walk gently upon this earth. And I think that is also a mandate of the Couchiching Conservancy. The third theme that kept popping up in my mind was an enormous amount of gratitude. Because strangers that I never met gave somebody like me the opportunity to come to a place like this where I could learn to walk again and run and do all the things that I used to do before. And I just want to say to John and his family, thank you very, very much. That's it. I knew I'd cry.
This is probably a good time to do the thank yous.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm going to thank Environment and Climate Change Canada and a few foundations that made some substantial contributions toward making sure we could acquire this land. The Consicon Foundation, the Echo Foundation, and the Gosling.
Louder, Dorothea.
The Consicon Foundation, the Echo Foundation, and the Gosling Foundation. Also, we have an amazing group of donors at the Couchiching Conservancy, and I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to our Corridors campaign to make this possible. Last and not at all least, I'd like to thank Kathy Faircloth and Mark Pitts and family and the estate of John Pitts. And now that I've met Glenn as well, I'd like to thank him. So, is that all the thank yous, Mark? Am I forgetting anyone? You would know better than me.
I think you covered
Kathy
it.
and Kathy.
What's that?
You said me.
I did say Kathy.
Oh, I think you're just thinking, who else do we thank? Like,
Oh, okay.
all the supporters and donors
John
over
and
the years.
Kathleen,
And of course, yeah, John and Kathleen. Yeah,
who took care of the property so well for so long.
exactly, exactly. And I think now Kathy Hunt, I'll ask you to come.
Thanks, Dorothea. I've loved hearing all the stories of John that so far today. I'm the president of the board of directors with the Conservancy, and I would also like to thank everyone here for coming today. It's amazing, this group standing in the sunshine, and especially the families of John and Kathleen who've helped make John and Kathleen's wishes a reality. I also want to point out there's a couple of other board members here. Jane Bonsteel over there, and where's Lisa? Oh yeah, Lisa. And I have some notes because I have to be really short. I've really enjoyed hearing everybody. I'm glad there's so many people speaking. I didn't know John, but I have been absolutely fascinated when I started doing a little bit of research and talking to people to find out who this couple was, John and Kathleen. I've read John's obituary, and it's beautiful. It was summed up by saying John was a gentle, peaceful man who gave more to the world than he took from it. He was, that's all new information to me, he was a conscientious objector when he lived in the States, and when he came to Canada, I believe he became a conscientious protector. And I would say an influencer. And we all know there's social media influencers every day. We see them on social media. But I think he was the real deal. He did influence almost everyone he met. And as his friends said, he walked his talk. Maybe someone here today was the one that said that, I'm not sure. When it came to the importance of understanding nature He was a true leader, and it sounds like he did inspire all who knew him. We hope his actions and way of life continue to inspire others, especially those people that can help us protect more nature in the area. For me, knowing a little bit about John and his family make this property even more special. I have been here once before, but now I have a kind of a more intimate feeling about it. As his sister-in-law wrote, maybe that is Jillian? Are you Jillian?
Yes.
Okay, I think you wrote this.
I did.
I read all the letters to his letters of condolence. They were beautiful. I think you said, the farm is where one always feels a sense of peace removed from the fray. I'm so glad that we're able to enjoy this today and also for a long time to come. Thank you to everyone who's made this possible. Mark, where's Mark? Mark and Kathy and the Milligan family, as well as all of our supporters, donors, and staff who've made this a reality. You've really made a wonderful legacy for John and Kathleen, so thank you so much. I'm going to cry now.
Kathy.
Oh, we should do the next part.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. I was supposed to invite Kathy and Mark, not Mark, not you.
Mark's an introvert, I don't know.
Okay, Kathy's going to represent Mark.
Is that okay?
And say a few words. Now, would we like to unveil the sign we have first?
Okay.
Okay, Mark, would you like you need to be a part of this official unveiling. Whoa,
Sure. That was John and Kathleen.
You can do a photo or video.
Great job. Okay, well, Mary made me cry, so I'm gonna have to try. I wasn't going to cry, so I gotta try not to cry now, but I want to still say just a very few words about thank yous, even though they've been made, but there's some people that I really appreciate so much, and the first one is Mark Bissett. And Mark did so much. This would not have happened without him. And I just got to meet him today, which I was so pleased to do that, but he has made all the difference with this. Another person I want to thank is Glenn and Jillian, or two people, Glenn and Jillian. They contributed, and their family, in so many ways to what was done here. And I wanted to thank all of you, and so many of you have contributed in different ways, sometimes money, sometimes volunteering, and just by being here. And that means so much to us, so much to us. I have so many, and I guess really the person I want to thank, and somebody else mentioned this, is John. Because John had the wisdom and foresight to recognize this land, close to 50 years ago. I can remember a number of years back, he told me he'd lived on this land for 40 years. So it's going on 45 or 50 years that he lived here. And he had the foresight to recognize this land and the meaning in it, and to buy this land. And as someone has already said, he absolutely loved this land. I don't know how many times he talked to me about it, how much he loved it. And I used to come up to see him. I was a teacher. I'd come in the summer. And we go all around the land. And often it was just John and I, and nobody else was there. And then the whole family would come sometimes at Christmas. And I realized after John died that all of my happiest memories in life were on this land at the farmhouse. We just had such, as Jillian had said, it was so peaceful. So much, I dropped my little piece of paper. Oh, you got it for me. Oh, good. Thank you. Anyway, I think John made it that way, and I really appreciate what he did. And he also very early on began talking to me about
how he wanted this land to go to the Couchiching Conservancy. And he intended to leave it to them outright in his will, but he died before he had a chance to alter his will. So obviously it didn't happen, but Glenn and Mark working together and the donations from you and people like you made it happen. So he couldn't have been happier than what's happening right now. This meant so much to him. John was a person that had a vision of life that it could be kinder and gentler than it was when you think all over the world and the things that are happening. And that was the way he lived his life. Every day of his life, he believed in living what his beliefs were, and he brought a lot of kindness, a lot of gentleness, a lot of sharing and graciousness. And those of you that knew him could probably see that, or I know you could see that in him, that the kind of person that he was. He shared so much with so many people, and I think he accomplished a lot. A lot of it was in little ways, just with people he knew. This land and how it's going to be used, he started the concept of the idea. I don't think any of us would have known. I wouldn't have known, living down in the States, on the western part of the United States, what Couchiching Conservancy was, or that it even existed. If John hadn't told me about it so much. So all of that's just so central to who he was. And if you didn't ever get to meet him, you really missed something. You missed a neat person. And John wrote something, and he gave me a copy of it. And I think it was an affirmation that he'd written for himself, but for anybody else in the world who wanted to use it. And I thought it was really wonderful. And he said, "May you be at peace. May you know the beauty of your own true nature. May your heart always remain open. May you have deep compassion for yourself and all beings. May you be free, body, mind, and spirit." And that expressed very much John and who he was. And I guess I would close with a message to him and a quote from, actually it's E.E. Cummings, I think, but I would say, "John, you are my sun, you are my moon, you are all my stars as you watch over this property for us." And I think this is sacred ground and always will be, and I hope you'll use it in that fashion. You know, I'm a teacher, so I really had to work on making that short. I could have gone on for another hour or two.
That would make you a politician.
That would have made me a politician, right?
Did I miss anyone who wanted to say something?
I would like to say, I know I shouldn't come, but I think it would tie in.
Come on.
I would
Come on.
probably cry.
Come on, Dawn.
Much more emotional than my brother David. But John and I did a road trip out west. We'd have long discussions. And some of the people that at his funeral would probably remember this, and I didn't write it down then, and I just thought of it now. I just thought it would tie it together, because we're talking like John and Kathleen as if they're not here. But I asked John, I said, what is your spirit? What is your belief system? And he said to me, I'm trying to remember this from before, but he said to me, we all know like these little winds that come along and pick up stuff and flail it out and then go down again. And he says, I sort of see my life like that. I come in, I'm a little whirlwind. I pick up information from people around and from everything around, and then I share it. And then it just settles down again. And I think he also saw that it can rise and drop and do that. So I think I think he's still here. So,
Wow. I've been to a lot of property dedications, and I have to say I think this is definitely the most powerful one I've ever been to. It's really incredible. And
You know who that's due to? John. That's why we
Yeah.
can all say these things.
yeah, exactly. I got to know John through our community science program, and we have now got a number of community science monitoring programs happening here. And Mel and Al Tuck are here today. They do the water quality monitoring. And Susan Crow is here, and is your teammate here?
Yes. Yep.
I-
Monitoring.
Yeah, so they do monarch monitoring. And then we've got, oh my gosh, I know your name, but I'm sorry, I'm just
Sean.
trying to blank. Sean is here.
Glenn.
And who are you
Glenn.
stewarding with now? With Glenn. Oh, great. Hi, nice to meet you. And they're the general land stewards. And I don't know if there are any other projects happening. But anyway, we've also built this 2-kilometer loop trail. It's marked with the white markers, and then there's a couple of little side trails that have blue markers. And we'd like to invite you all now to take a walk with us, if you're able to. And I think that will kind of wrap up the day beautifully.
Take a picture
Yes.
of the sign.
Can I,
first, yeah?
Yes.
can I just say a little something?
Sure.
My name is Rosalind Cleland, and my husband Murray and I were good friends of John and Kathleen, and I absolutely agree with everything that everyone has said about John, but Kathleen, I have to say something about Kathleen. She was a good friend of mine, and she was such a gentle spirit also, and to know her was just to know peace and acceptance, and we shared so many timeshares together and vacations together with both of them, and as Kathleen's health started to fail, the guys would go off doing their skiing and everything, and I would stay with Kathleen and just talk, and it was just such a blessing to have known her, and thank you very much.
Don't mind. So I just feel that this, my name is Mamie DeGroot, and I just feel there's been so many coincidences that have brought me here today. So many years ago, John was my counselor, my family counselor that I saw for about 2 years, and he actually gave me that poem. So when you read that, it was touching. So he helped my family a lot. Everything that you say about his personality, his kindness, his softness, just displayed that so much. So a few years later, I'm a visiting nurse, and I was, this was my area for nursing, and I was given this address, and I'm driving, like, where the heck am I going? So I get here, and I'm just awed by the house, the stone house, the property, and I became Kathleen's visiting nurse, her home care, palliative care nurse. So I developed a relationship with her. She didn't believe in a lot of conventional medicine, and just needed support in general. So we developed a relationship over a couple of years. This place always stood in my mind, but I never came back, like after I was, finished with my care with Kathleen. And then I met a man that was so excited that he was the land steward for this property out here. And I had no idea, and we're driving, and we get here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I saw the sign, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it, that it was John and Kathleen. So it's just been a lot of circumstances that John has John and Kathleen are people that have influenced my life, and they really didn't know it. So it's just, I thought that it was worth mentioning that they have had that impact on my life, and I'm here with a whole bunch of different coincidences, so I wanted to mention it. So.